She was 6 months pregnant when they forced her to the ground, stomach first. 2 officers, 1 accusation. She stole from the register. No evidence. No questions. Just cuffs on her wrists and a knee between her shoulder blades, while her belly pressed into cold supermarket tiles. By the time they realized the truth, the cameras had already been erased. And what she lost? They called it unfortunate. She called it her daughter. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. It started with cough syrup. Shelly Carter stood in aisle 6 of a mid-sized grocery chain in Charlotte, North Carolina. One hand held her purse, the other gripped the barcode scanner from the self-checkout stand. Her back hurt. Carrying 24 weeks of pregnancy through a double shift as a medical assistant will do that to you. She'd only grabbed 6 things: orange juice, prenatal vitamins, a jar of pickles, cough syrup, a loaf of wheat bread, and a pack of ginger candy. She scanned each item slowly, methodically. Everything beeped, except one. Item not recognized. She tried again. Still nothing. The syrup sat there in the tray, blinking red. A young white employee in a blue vest came over. Barely 20, earbuds still in. Everything okay? Just this one, not scanning. He picked it up, scanned it himself. It beeped. All set. Thanks, Shelly smiled, relieved. She paid with her debit card, took her receipt, started walking out. And that's when it happened. A hand grabbed her arm. "Ma'am, I need you to come with me," said a security guard. Older white man. Wide frame. Narrow eyes. "Excuse me?" "Step into the office. You've been flagged for unpaid merchandise." Shelly blinked. "What?" Another voice joined. Younger, sharper. "Surveillance shows you pocketed cold medicine." It was a uniformed officer now. Thin, sunglasses still on indoors. Shelly felt her throat tighten. "I didn't pocket anything." "It didn't scan. Your employee helped." "Then why isn't it on the receipt?" The guard held up the paper. Item 9, missing. Shelly looked down at her belly. Her body suddenly cold. "I'm telling you, I scanned everything. I paid." The officer's voice cut in, flat and final. "Ma'am, turn around. Hands behind your back." "Wait, what are you doing?" "I'm pregnant." He didn't answer. The handcuffs came out. "Sir, please, I didn't do anything." She tried to turn, but he shoved her forward. Her knees hit the floor, belly first. Her scream echoed across the produce section. Another shopper gasped. Someone whispered, "Is she stealing?" Shelly was face down on the tile, wrist yanked behind her. A second officer, female, indifferent, began to pat her down. Her voice cracked. "Please, the baby, don't push my stomach, please." The first officer grunted. "Then you should have thought of that before shoplifting." Her vision blurred. All she could think was, Item 9. I didn't steal it. But no one cared. The manager came over, smiled tightly. "We'll handle this privately." She never made it to the parking lot. They took her out through the back. And by the time she saw sunlight again, her world would never be the same. Shelly sat in a plastic chair inside a windowless back office that smelled like sweat and printer ink. Her hands were still cuffed. The door was closed. The officer stood by it, arms folded, watching her like she might explode at any second. The security guard sat across from her, flipping through something on a clipboard. "You want to tell us why the receipt doesn't show the cough syrup?" he said, voice casual, almost bored. "I told you already," Shelly said, voice hoarse. "It wouldn't scan. The kid in the vest came over and did it. He scanned it for me." The officer didn't react. The guard scribbled something down. "Name of the employee?" "I don't know." "White kid. Blonde. About 6 feet. Earbuds in." "No name?" "I didn't think I needed one." He was working self-checkout. The officer finally spoke. "That's convenient." Shelly's stomach twisted. The baby wasn't moving. Or maybe she just couldn't feel it through the adrenaline and cold air. "Can you at least uncuff me? I'm not resisting. And I'm pregnant." The officer ignored her. The guard leaned back. "We've reviewed the footage. You scan several items, then hesitate on the last one. You glance around. Then you put the bottle in the bag without scanning. That's what we see." Shelly's voice shook now. "That's not what happened. He scanned it. I watched him do it." The officer tapped something into his phone. "What's your name again?" "Shelly Carter." "Address?" She gave it. Voice flat. "Occupation?" "Medical assistant." The guard chuckled quietly. "Gotta say, this isn't the best look for someone in healthcare." Shelly stared at him. Her eyes burned. "I didn't steal anything." "Then why didn't you check your receipt when he walked away?" She blinked. "I'm 6 months pregnant." I had just worked a 12-hour shift. My back was on fire. I didn't know you had to audit your own receipts in your store. That silenced them. For about 3 seconds. Then the officer stood up. We're taking you in. Shelly's breath caught. What? It's company policy. Any theft over $10 requires police custody. Cough syrup's worth $13.47 before tax. She stared at him in disbelief. You don't even know if I took it. You admitted it wasn't on the receipt. And I told you why. Doesn't matter. We don't make the rules. He reached for her arms. She pulled back instinctively. Big mistake. In an instant, the officer gripped her shoulder, twisted, and forced her halfway to the floor. Her stomach hit the edge of the table. She cried out. Stop. I'm not resisting. I'm not. A sharp voice interrupted. That's enough. A new man entered the room. Older. Clean suit. District manager badge on his chest. He took one look at Shelly, then at the officer. Then said, We'll let the system deal with her. Shelly was still in cuffs. Still accused. Still pregnant. But now, she was headed to the back seat of a squad car. Without a single witness willing to say. I remember her face. The squad car smelled like dust and plastic and old sweat. Shelly sat sideways in the back seat, wrists still cuffed behind her, belly pressing awkwardly against the divider. Neither officer spoke. No Miranda rights. No explanation. Just silence. When they pulled into the station, the sun was starting to set. The fluorescent lights outside the precinct buzzed as they walked her through the side entrance. No front lobby. No waiting area. Straight to intake. Step here. Face the wall. Don't move, said the officer. Shelly did. She didn't ask questions anymore. The intake officer, a woman in her 50s with red hair and tired eyes, looked up from her desk. Shoplifting? Alleged. From a pharmacy aisle. She armed? No. The intake officer looked over at Shelly, then at the bump under her coat. At her? Yep. The woman sighed. Then spoke directly to Shelly. You're going to take off your shoes, earrings, and anything in your pockets. We'll inventory your items, and then you'll wait in holding. Shelly opened her mouth. I didn't do anything. The intake officer didn't blink. Take off your shoes. 3 hours passed before anyone spoke to her again. By then, she was barefoot on a concrete bench, stomach cramping, head spinning. No water. No phone call. A young white male officer, Detective Givens, badge number clipped sideways, entered holding. Carter? She stood slowly. Come with me. He led her down a hallway to a narrow room with a metal table. One chair. He sat, motioned for her to do the same. She eased down, hands folded in her lap. Givens opened a file. You were detained for theft at a FoodMart. Surveillance shows you placing a bottle into your bag without scanning. Shelly's voice was low now. Exhausted. The machine didn't scan. An employee scanned it for me. I paid. You got a name? No. Receipt? I gave it to the guard. It was missing one item. Givens nodded slowly. That's the issue. That's not a crime. That's a glitch. He leaned back. Could be. Could also be deception. She stared. Are you serious? Ma'am, I'm just looking at patterns. Single mother. Lower income bracket. No criminal record, but elevated stress. Pregnant. That's pressure. People under pressure take things. Shelly blinked. You just profiled me. Givens shrugged. I call it probability. She spoke carefully now. If I were white, and wearing scrubs, and holding a Starbucks, would we be having this conversation? Givens didn't answer. But the corner of his mouth twitched. He closed the file. You'll be released tonight, pending review. But the charge will stay unless the store retracts. They won't. Then we'll move to arraignment. Shelly felt something inside her drop. You don't even believe I did it. Doesn't matter. The system does. He stood and walked out. She sat in the empty room. Alone. Not because she was guilty, but because somebody in a vest forgot to speak up. And silence, she now understood, was enough to indict her. It was 8:32 a.m. when Shelly stepped into courtroom C-206. She hadn't slept. Her ankles were swollen. The baby hadn't kicked since last night. She wore the same clothes from her arrest. The same ache in her back. The same cuffs had left faint red lines on her wrists. And still, she stood tall. The courtroom was half empty. A few public defenders. A board clerk. A young man dozing in the gallery. Her case was number 12 on the docket. The judge arrived. Honorable Philip D. Hanlon, white, mid-60s, reputation for efficiency. He didn't smile. Just sat. Let's begin. The cases flew by. drug possession, trespassing, noise ordinance. Everyone pled guilty. No one asked why. Then, case number 12. Shelly Carter. She stood. A public defender approached, a black woman, sharp suit, tired eyes. Whispered, "I just got assigned. Don't talk. I'll speak for you." Shelly opened her mouth. "I didn't." "Don't. It won't help here." They stepped forward. The clerk read, "Charge, misdemeanor theft under $200. Arresting officer, Harlan. Store, FoodMart, West Charlotte. Evidence, surveillance footage and unpaid merchandise." Judge Hanlon didn't look up. "Ms. Carter, how do you plead?" Shelly tried to speak. The lawyer cut in. "Your Honor, we're requesting continuance. We have not received the full surveillance review nor the self-checkout override log from the store." The judge glanced at the file. "You had 48 hours. The arrest was on Saturday. Not my problem." Request denied. The lawyer pressed on. "Your Honor, this is a first offense. No prior arrests. No history of theft. And she is visibly pregnant. We're asking for supervised release pending." Hanlon interrupted. "You say no history, but pressure makes people unpredictable." Shelly's head snapped up. She stepped forward. "Your Honor, I work in medicine. I paid. The receipt was just missing the E." The judge banged his gavel once. "You'll speak when addressed." The room fell silent. The prosecutor, a young man with perfect hair, stood. "The people are not seeking jail at this time. We're proposing a diversion offer, 6 months probation, theft prevention course, and court costs." The judge nodded. "Acceptable." Shelly stared at them. "I'm not guilty." Her lawyer whispered, "You take that deal. You don't go to jail. Just finish a class and move on." Shelly shook her head. "Then my record says I stole something I didn't take. It's a misdemeanor. It won't ruin your life." Shelly looked her in the eye. "You mean it won't ruin yours?" Then she turned to the judge. "I reject the offer. I want to fight." Hanlon blinked, then leaned back. "Very well. Next appearance set for 31 days. Defendant remanded to supervised release. No contact with FoodMart. Bailiff. Next case." And just like that, her stand meant nothing. No one applauded. No one listened. Her name was logged. Her plea recorded. Her stomach tightened. And somewhere behind her, someone whispered, "She should have taken the deal." But Shelly Carter walked out of that courtroom with something they didn't expect: defiance. And that, they couldn't erase from the record. Shelly spent the next 3 days on her feet. No lawyers. No advocates. Just bus rides, aching feet, and a folder of handwritten notes. She started at the FoodMart. Walked in like a customer. Didn't flinch when the greeter froze. Went straight to self-checkout. Same machines. Same layout. She waited until a young employee walked by. "Hey, you were working Saturday, right?" He blinked. "Maybe. Why?" "I think you helped me. I was pregnant. Self-checkout messed up. You scanned cough syrup for me." He looked around. "I don't know anything about that. You had blonde hair. Earbuds. You scanned it yourself." "Sorry, I don't remember. I was arrested." His eyes widened for a second, then narrowed. "I gotta go." He disappeared down aisle 4. Shelly stood there, alone. No cameras followed her. At least none that she could see. Next stop, the store manager. She asked for him at customer service. Got a clipped response. "He's off today." "Tomorrow?" "On vacation." "Someone else in charge?" "Depends." She leaned forward. "I'm being charged with theft. Your employee cleared my item. The footage proves it." The woman at the counter didn't blink. "Then your lawyer can subpoena it." Shelly exhaled. "I don't have a lawyer." "Then it's not our problem." She walked home. Feet blistered. Belly heavy. She called the public defender's office. Got transferred twice. Then voicemail. She left a message. "My name is Shelly Carter. I was wrongfully arrested at the FoodMart on Saturday. The employee who helped me is being protected. The store won't talk. I need help before my next hearing. Please." No one called back. That night, she researched surveillance retention loss. In North Carolina, private businesses weren't required to preserve footage unless ordered by court. Most stores recycled security data after 7 days. She had 4 left. She called the store again. "I'm requesting preservation of camera footage." Aisle 6. Saturday afternoon, 3:15 p.m. The man who answered just said, "Talk to legal." "I am legal. I'm the defendant." Click. Line went dead. She paced her apartment. One window faced the street. The other faced a brick wall. She didn't cry. She got her notebook. Wrote. Witness 1. Blonde male, 20, earbuds. Time, 3:15 p.m., Saturday. Action, scan cough syrup manually. Obstruction, store denies incident. Refuses ID. Then added. Footage, unreleased. No subpoena. For days left. She walked into a legal aid clinic the next morning. Waited 2 hours. A paralegal finally met her. You want to file a request for discovery? Yes. I want the footage. Before they delete it. Without counsel, you'll need a judge to sign the motion. I have 96 hours. Then you better pray he reads it in time. Shelly didn't pray. She wrote the motion herself. Cited statutes. Typed it at the public library. Walked it to the courthouse and filed it by hand. Stamped. Accepted. Filed. But no guarantees. Because she was learning fast. Justice wasn't about truth. It was about timing. And her clock was running out. 2 days later, Shelly received a letter in the mail. Clerk of court, discovery response. Stamped. Unfolded. Read in seconds. Request for surveillance video denied. FoodMart legal department has confirmed. Footage from 3 to 3:30 p.m. on date no longer exists. Data overwritten in normal retention cycle. No extended archival available. Shelly stood frozen in her kitchen. 3 pages of paperwork. 3 sentences of truth. And none of them mentioned the fact that someone had formally requested the footage before it was erased. Her motion had been stamped Monday. The footage deleted Tuesday. She checked the calendar. They deleted it 5 hours after she filed. Coincidence? She didn't believe in those anymore. She called the legal department at FoodMart Corporate. The woman on the phone sounded rehearsed. I'm sorry, Miss Carter, but that footage is no longer retrievable. Your store manager knew this was pending. Unfortunately, decisions about local security data are made internally. We can't comment further. Shelly lowered her voice. Someone deleted that video on purpose. The woman hesitated. Just enough to notice. We're not at liberty to discuss internal protocols. Click. Call ended. Shelly sat at her kitchen table, staring at the empty space where truth should have been. She wasn't just up against a mistake now. She was up against a cover-up. And it raised one question that hadn't occurred to her before. Who was that employee? And why was the store so eager to erase proof he existed? She went back. Not as a shopper. Not as a defendant. She stood on the public sidewalk across from the store. Waited. Watched. 2 hours passed. At 3:13 p.m., the blonde kid appeared. Earbuds in. Vest on. Name tag turned backward. Shelly crossed the street. He saw her. Eyes widened. He turned immediately. Headed toward the back loading zone. She followed. Hey, wait. He didn't. She caught up. I'm not angry. I just want to talk. He stopped. Finally. Didn't turn. Just said. I was told not to get involved. Shelly froze. By who? Manager. After the arrest. Said it was being handled. Said not to say anything. You scanned that bottle. You know I paid. He nodded. Barely. But they said the system didn't register it, so it's not theft. It's a gap. It's a felony. He looked at her, finally, and his voice cracked just a little. They told me if I said anything, I'd be fired. Said it wasn't my job to overcomplicate things. Shelly stepped closer. What's your name? He didn't answer. Just turned and walked inside. Vest still on. Back still turned. Shelly stood in the alley. Heartbeat loud. That was it. He existed. He knew. And someone, or several someones, wanted him quiet. This wasn't about cough syrup. It never was. It was about what they do when they know you're not like them. And how easy it is to delete you. Unless you fight back. Shelly unlocked the storage box beneath her bed for the first time in 6 years. Inside, old textbooks. Notebooks. A folder labeled Carter, S. Law Track, Spring 2013. She sat on the floor, knees pulled up, one hand on her stomach. Then opened the folder. Inside were outlines. Case briefs. Annotated copies of Graham versus Connor, Terry versus Ohio, Brady versus Maryland. She had dropped out of law school her second year. Too many shifts. Too many bills. Too few hours in the day. But she hadn't forgotten what she learned. Especially this. Truth without proof is just noise. Proof without pressure is just paper. She spent the next 2 nights writing. Not blogging. Not posting. Drafting. Shelly Carter, motion for dismissal on grounds of malicious prosecution and procedural misconduct. She cited failure to preserve evidence, witness intimidation by employer, retaliatory arrest based on false assumption, Constructive obstruction by commercial entity. She pulled every statute she could find from the state code, formatted it cleanly, added her name, phone, signature, not as defendant, as pro se litigant. She filed it Wednesday morning. Clerk barely looked up, just stamped. Next, Shelly stepped outside the courthouse. The sun hit her full in the face. For the first time in weeks, she let it. Not because she'd won, but because she'd taken her story out of their hands and put it back in her own. That afternoon, she sent a certified letter to FoodMart's regional office. Inside was a formal notification. Your employee confirmed a verbal directive not to provide truthful witness testimony regarding incident on date. Any further interference will constitute obstruction. Consider this a legal preservation notice. No threats, no press, just pressure. Clean, legal, documented, and they would feel it. Later that night, a letter arrived at her apartment. Hand-delivered. No return address. Inside, you're making this bigger than it needs to be. Be smart. Walk away. No one got hurt. Shelly read it twice, then burned it in the sink. Because someone had just told on themselves. And they were right about one thing. No one got hurt. Not yet. But the next time someone ignored a black pregnant woman at self-checkout, they'd think twice. Because one of them had chosen the wrong one. The one who remembered how to write, how to file, and how to hold the door open long enough for others to follow. Even if no one was behind her yet. The email came at 10:43 a.m. Subject, Resolution Proposal, Carter v. FoodMart. Sender, Corporate Counsel, Southeast Region. Shelly opened it on her phone. Short, formal, surgical. In the interest of expediency and privacy, we are offering a monetary settlement of $12,000 to resolve any claims regarding the events of date. This includes a non-disclosure agreement, withdrawal of current filings, and a signed acknowledgement of customer procedural error. She read that line twice. Acknowledgement of customer procedural error. In plain language, say it was your fault. $12,000. It sounded like a lot, until you realized what it bought. Silence. Guilt. Erasure. She didn't respond. Not that day. Not the next. On Friday, they called her. Blocked number. She answered. A man's voice. Polished, calm. Ms. Carter, I'm with FoodMart's legal resolution team. We sent a settlement offer. I read it. And I'm declining. Pause. Are you sure? It's a generous offer for a first-time incident. No criminal record. This avoids court. That's the point, isn't it? Ms. Carter, I don't think you understand. She cut him off. No, you don't. I remember everything. I remember the floor tiles. I remember the pressure on my spine. I remember silence. Yours. His. Theirs. And I remember that you erased a video and told a scared kid not to speak. The voice hardened slightly. If this goes forward, you will lose. The burden of proof lies with you. Then I'll carry it. Click. She ended the call. That night, someone knocked on her door. Not police. A courier. He handed her an envelope. Inside, a revised offer. $25,000. Same terms. Same lie. She took a pen. Wrote across the page. The cost of my child's safety is not for sale. Mailed it back. Certified. Her phone buzzed again the next day. Voicemail. The voice was different now. Softer. Almost pitying. You're making this personal. It was a mistake. Mistakes happen. Shelly didn't reply. Because it wasn't personal. It was patterned. And the only mistake made was assuming she would fold. She spent Sunday rewriting her motion. Added case law. Precedent. Direct quotes from Brady, Napu, and Manel. She knew they had more money, more lawyers, more leverage. But she had truth. And now it was printed, notarized, and headed to court. That night, her baby kicked for the first time in 4 days. Hard. Real. Undeniable. Shelly smiled. You feel that? That's your mother saying no. No to silence. No to bribes. No to their version of events. Because if she gave in now, she'd be teaching her daughter the worst lesson. That justice belongs to the loudest, richest liar in the room. And Shelly Carter had chosen the longer road. But it would have her name on it. Not theirs. Courtroom B. 14 was colder than Shelly remembered. Colder than the day they first cuffed her. Colder than the night she spent on the concrete bench. Now, she was here by choice. Not as defendant. As plaintiff. Pro se. The case. Carter v. FoodMart Incorporated and Officer D. Harlan. The motion on the table. Motion to dismiss by defense. They called it frivolous. They called it speculative. They claimed lack of evidentiary support. The judge, not Hamlin this time, but another man just as tired, adjusted his glasses. "Ms. Carter, do you have a response?" Shelly stood. Her papers were neat. No stutter. No apology. "Your Honor, I filed a verified complaint supported by first-person affidavit, time-stamped witness identification, and legal documentation of obstruction. The defense is not challenging the facts. They're challenging the inconvenience." The corporate attorney rose. "Objection. Plaintiff is editorializing." Shelly didn't blink. "I'm correcting the record." The judge exhaled. "Ms. Carter, do you believe this rises to the level of malicious prosecution?" "Yes, Your Honor. The arrest was made without sufficient investigation, the evidence was erased after a preservation request, and the only eyewitness was silenced by threat of termination." The courtroom was silent. Then the corporate lawyer smirked. "And you have no attorney?" "No." "No legal training?" Shelly smiled slightly. "1 year of law school. And enough courtroom time to see how you treat people who look like me." The smirk faded. The judge scribbled something. "Defense motion is under advisement. Final ruling in 7 days. Until then, the case stands." He banged the gavel. Everyone stood. Everyone except Shelly. She was already seated again, reorganizing her notes. Because 7 days was all she needed. Outside the courtroom, the prosecutor from her criminal charge was waiting. "Ms. Carter." She turned. He adjusted his tie, like he'd been rehearsing. "Your shoplifting case. We're prepared to drop charges, if you drop the civil complaint." Shelly didn't answer. He added quickly, "Without prejudice. It won't show on your record." She stared at him. "So let me be clear. I take your deal, and your officers face nothing. Your client avoids discovery, and I walk away as if nothing happened. That's how resolution works." She stepped closer, voice low, controlled. "No, that's how protection works." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Shelly walked past him without a word. That evening, she updated her files, scanned new letters, highlighted contradictions, checked the state bar's code of conduct again. And this time, she didn't just prepare for defense. She prepared to cross-examine. If they wanted a courtroom, they were going to get one. But not on their terms. On hers. 7 days passed. No updates. No calls. Just the ticking silence of a system waiting to see if she'd forget. She didn't. At 9:14 a.m. on Monday, Shelly stood again in courtroom B14. The same bench. The same cold air. The judge entered. His robe looked heavier today. Or maybe it was just her eyes, tired from too many nights rereading her own complaint. He cleared his throat. Case Carter v. FoodMart. Ruling on motion to dismiss. Shelly didn't move. Didn't blink. The defense attorney sat with crossed legs, fingers resting smugly on his briefcase. The judge continued. After review of the submitted complaint, exhibits, and procedural history, this court finds that the matter raised by the plaintiff is not frivolous. A pause. The lawyer shifted in his seat. The judge went on. The plaintiff's claim, if proven at trial, could establish patterns of misconduct and may justify further investigation into evidentiary destruction and civil rights violations. The motion to dismiss is denied. The courtroom didn't erupt. No gasps. No headlines. Just a scratch of pen across docket paper. Stamped. Filed. Permanent. Shelly let out one breath. Quiet. Slow. Then nodded once. It wasn't over. But it wasn't invisible anymore. Outside, she called no one. Didn't text. Didn't post. She just walked 4 blocks to the library. Sat down at a public terminal. Opened the court's digital records. Typed in her name. There it was. Carter v. FoodMart Incorporated, status, active civil complaint. She printed it. 1 page. Simple. Factual. Undeniable. She folded it and placed it in a new folder marked "My daughter's first lesson," because one day she'd tell her. Tell her about the floor tiles, the cuffs, the silence, the bruises that don't show, the clerk who wouldn't look her in the eye, the smile behind the counter when they thought she'd break. And then she'd hold up the page and say, "But this is what we made out of it." She still had to go back to work. Still had bills. Still had court hearings to prepare. But one thing had changed. From now on, anyone who searched her name would find more than an arrest record. They'd find a case number. And that number meant she didn't disappear. She didn't accept the lie. She didn't stay quiet. They took her voice once. But now, It was part of the public record. Forever. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire action and hope.